and left him without a job. So I have a very good friend by the name of Dr. Samita, who worked with the hospital with me, and he was living in Minden, and he invited me up here. And when I came up here, I bought a place called Lake Village over here, and I told him to get a job. And he got a job at the hotel next door. And at night, it seemed to Harris always ran out of sweets, but he always, being on the desk at the hotel next door, he always kept some sweets available. And would you believe it, after 3 or 4 months, the people at Harris said, we got to talk to this guy because he's helping us a lot. So that's why he's here today.
Nice.
Anyway, let me tell you very briefly.
Much of what's told not going to be true.
I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up there. My mother was the 13th child. She had nephews and nieces older than her. Among my uncles, one was head of the Milwaukee School Board, which I had to behave like a really good. I had one that was a barber, 2 that owned taverns, 1 worked at the tire company, and 2 worked at Harley-Davidson motorcycle company. So I never had any problems going fishing because they went fishing and hunting all the time. And so I was at the University of Wisconsin, and they put me in the NROTC, and I put me in the Signal Corps, and we had a sham battle up there at Madison. And my first order of the day was to take a wire reel, which was a phone line, and carry it out to an observation point. So I took that wheel out, not knowing that everybody on the opposite side had a bag full of flour and cheesecloth. And where they throw that at you, and where you got hit with that flour, that's where you got shot. The mock battle started at 7:30. At 8 o'clock, I was wiped from my head to my toes. I went down the next weekend, and I enlisted in the United States Navy. The war was on at that time, and my first deal was that they took me in. Naturally gave you a test. I went to Bethesda, Maryland. I was there for 6 weeks. Then they transferred me to Great Lakes. And then they transferred me to the Hornet, which is an aircraft carrier, which is now in San Francisco. After the Hornet, we had a 50-bed hospital on the Hornet. And after a couple of months on there, they transferred me to a Marine unit. This was during World War II. At the Marine unit. And I ran a Marine field hospital for that war. And when the war was over, I knew there was going to be another war, so I didn't retire. I just stayed in. I stayed in as a reservist. And would you believe it? In 1960, we had this trouble with Korea, and so I was back in the service again. I got orders to report again. And the bad thing about that one, it was a change in my life, is I had an appointment to medical school at the University of Illinois, which was in September of 1950. The war in 1950 was in July. I was up fishing, and I came home, and my orders were laying there, and my mother said, you got this thing from the Navy Department. And I had to report immediately. And from that's the story of how that changed my life. But I stayed in the medical field continuously, and I retired from Valley Presbyterian Hospital, of which Dr. Samita, sitting over there, was the head of our neonatal unit. And when I had the opportunity, I came up here to visit him, and with my son, because he needed a job. Thanks, So I bought a place here, and I told him to get himself a job while he's up here. And that's how we got here in Great Nevada in this area. So I live in Minden now. I have 12 to 14 goats. I did have steers, but I got rid of the steers. We ate them. And of course, my close friend, Dr. Samita, is the gal that helped us get Lake Village, and her name is Dolly Peters, and she's over there with her hand raised. And she has her son with her who's also real estate at Reno. Anyway, that's the synopsis of my life. I spent 47 years in the military, and I love this country. and I'll stand by it, and I'll be voting on the 6th of June.
Awesome.